Welcome to the show. We're at Walters Arena, where round 6 of the Britpart British Cross Country Championship makes its return. Of course, it was the scene of the opening round back in April. This weekend, though, a number of crews were still in with the chance of winning the title. It all comes down to these final miles of the season. Straight onto the action then, where it all began earlier this year, and onto the opening runs. It would be the lead for Justin Birchall and Johnny Kunja. They'd already suffered a non-score this season with that roll at Sweet Lamb, if you remember. So they needed to make sure that they had the pace, and importantly, they got to the finish this weekend. Second place at this stage, and indeed second of our championship contenders as well, will be Mark Jacks and Adam Nicholson. The times were good right out of the blocks for the pair. They're clearly hungry for that title and doing exactly what they needed to do in order to try and walk away with it this weekend. They'd have a fight on their hands, though. For Andy Ditullio and Paul Foley, it would be third. It wasn't plain sailing by any stretch of the imagination either, as has been the case a number of times this season for the pair, actually. The clutch pedal snapping on the third run of the morning, for example, needing a makeshift replacement fabricating by the team in service. Thankfully, not much time lost, but there would be that worry in the afternoon. Would the repairs hold? After spending the break between events with a cast on his hand, Phil Bayliss and Lance Murphin would welcome that cast's removal in the days leading up to this event. They had a championship to fight for after all, and things were going well on that front so far, leading the way in Class 9 from 4th overall. Once again, Aston and Martin Cox will be sharing the driving this weekend. Simon Kerfoot jumping in the co-driver's seat as well. And things were going swimmingly, it had to be said. They end the morning 5th place overall. Leading Class 5 at this stage would be this man, Jason Rowlands. Matthew Hall alongside. They get the upper hand in the family battle so far, and with a reasonable advantage in that position as well. So that would mean second place in the class for Paul Rowlands and Neil Lloyd. They weren't having any issues, but they were losing a few seconds here and there to end the morning, just back from Jason in that class lead. This weekend we see Andy Skelly and Tom Aubrey joining us in the championship. A bit late to the party, and things would start great for them, ending the morning 8th place overall. However, it wouldn't last. They suffered gearbox issues in the very next run, forced to call it a day. A puncture towards the end of the opening run wouldn't be the start that Martin James and his son Gideon would have wanted. Thankfully, only losing them around a minute, they end the morning 9th place overall. And rounding out the top 10 leaderboard at this stage in the event would be Steve Smith and John Griffiths. The times were getting quicker as the morning went on, so they'd be looking to try and gain a place or two in the afternoon. The gloves would surely be off at this final round of the championship. In the classes now, we'd see Dave Hooper and Lee Higginson taking the lead in Class 17. Almost 2 years working to build that car, and it was finally getting to turn a wheel in anger. And this competitive debut, or shall we call it a test, seemed to be going well for the pair. Once again, it will be a good start in the class, and overall positions for Ocean Riley and Phillip Richards. They lead the way in Class 15, as well as 12th place on the leaderboard. For Michael Tilney and Niall Banyard, it would be 5th place in Class 10. The pair unable to gain any more time to climb that leaderboard from 13th at this stage. And it will be 2nd place in Class 17 for Harry Nicol and Emily Sibley. They make a good start on their second outing with the championship, knocking time off their run times as they went along. And rounding out the results at this stage would be Richard Green and Richard Griffiths. A maximum time on the opening run of the day had set the pair back from the start. Times after that, though, were getting faster and faster for the pair, so it was looking good. So with the morning runs complete here in Wales, the leaderboard is starting to shape up on this, the championship deciding round. We move then onto the second half of day one, and there'd be no change in that leading position. Justin Birchall and Johnny Kunja out in front. In fact, their advantage at the top was indeed looking good. They wouldn't be able to back off, though, as that can lead to mistakes. And we've seen that before, and they couldn't afford any mistakes. For Mark Jacks and Adam Nicholson, it would still be second, but it was a hard charging second. Day 2, though, was looking in doubt. A broken gearbox would cost them some time, but more worryingly, they didn't have the parts to fix it, meaning that 2 of the Lofthouse team would drive the 400-mile round trip back to base to collect the parts and attempt to repair the car overnight. Things were not exactly going to plan either for Andy, Ditullio and Paul Foley. Meanwhile, the clutch pedal repair was holding out, but a high-speed vibration was worrying the crew enough to call it a day and not cause any major damage to the car. A big shake-up for the championship fight then. This would mean a place gained for Phil Bayliss and Lance Murphy. They were always surprised to be in the top of the results, even at this late stage in the season, having been there so often, but things were going well. They do have to manually operate the wipers at one point, but apart from that, it was going to plan. Still no change in that Class 5 battle lead though. Jason Rowlands and Matthew Hall continuing to hold on to the advantage in front, and in fact that place looking fairly secure now due to issues elsewhere in the class. Things still going to plan as well for Dave Hooper and Lee Higginson. Only here on a test, of course, with the debut in that car, but leading Class 17 and in 5th place overall now. There were a few things on the car that would need setting up a little better. A few niggles, if you like, but for its first outing, they certainly couldn't complain. For Martin James, it would be 6th place now. He'd hoped to be out on more rounds this season, but engine problems earlier in the year had ended those hopes. So for a lack of seat time, things were certainly going well. Another pair that things were going well for were Austin Riley and Phillip Richards, leading the class, of course, and lying in 7th place now. It was looking like a good result could be on the cards for day 2. There'd be some positions gained as well for Michael Tilney and Niall Banyard. Their times looking better into the afternoon, ending the day with 8th place overall, 2nd in the class. And there'd be places gained too for Harry Nicol and Emily Sibley. It wasn't without its issues though, the pair blowing a diff on the 4th run. They get back to repair the car and, thankfully for them, with minimal time lost. And rounding out the top 10 now were Aston and Martin Cox. Things weren't going to plan, you could say. They break a wishbone on the car and would get themselves a maximum time, dropping them right down the order. Meanwhile, it would be problems of a different kind for Steve Smith and John Griffiths. They put the car in a ditch, thankfully with minimal damage, but a maximum time. The damage being done to their leaderboard position they'd need extracting in order to carry on. Day 1 then would be the last time that we'd see championship sponsor Paul Rowlands with Neil Lloyd, not completing the final run of the day. This overshoot on one of the earlier runs hadn't helped their overall times either. A disappointing run to end the season, but the pace had been there up to that point. And that earlier maximum time for Richard Green and Richard Griffiths was still holding them back on the results, down in 13th place, and no doubt down in the doldrums at the end of day 1. So with the drama of the opening day now complete, and for some, out of the way, the results at the top here at the final round here at Walters Arena are looking like this. On to day 2, and as expected, no change to that lead. Justin Birchall and Johnny Kunja keeping things going and ensuring that they hold on to that advantage. The championship, theirs to lose now, surely. There would be some change to 2nd place though, however, as Phil Bayliss and Lance Murphy move up into that position over the morning's runs. The times beyond the event lead though were pretty close. So that of course meant for previous 2nd place Mark Jackson and Adam Nicholson, it would now be 3rd. They wouldn't be complaining though, they'd almost not start the day with those gearbox problems from the day before. The Lofthouse Motorsport team up until 4 AM fixing the car, just so they could complete the event. Things were still going well though for Jason Rowlands and Matthew Hall, 4th place for the pair and of course leading their class. They had a good gap either side of them on the results as well, a bit of a comfort margin, so they just have to manage that position to the finish. Easier said than done, of course. Things as well going very much to plan still for Dave Hooper and Lee Higginson as well, still leading the class and from 5th place on the overall results. For Martin James, it will be 6th place overall now, joined by Charlie Morgan calling the notes on day 2, despite the lack of recent seat time, things going to plan for the pair. And things were still going to plan also for Ocean Riley and Phillip Richards, continuing to put in those good times, keeping things on track for that class victory and 7th overall at this stage. A bit of a fight back and a bit of time gained for Aston and Martin Cox on the leaderboard for day 2. No more problems either for the pair. They moved their way up to 8th place now and climbing. And no more problems to report either for Harry Nicol and Emily Sibley. They end the morning here on day 2 with 9th place overall, 2nd in the class. Rounding out our top 10 now then would be Steve Smith and John Griffiths. Their earlier trip into the scenery had ruined a better result, but at least they could keep going for a finish. It was a similar story too for Richard Green and Richard Griffiths. They continue to round out the results with 11th overall. So with just a handful of miles left to go in the 2019 championship, and what a season it had been, the results at the top currently look like this as it goes down to the wire in the Britpart British Cross Country Championship. We're on then to those final runs of the event and indeed of this eventful 2019 season, and we'd see Richard Green and Richard Griffiths continuing to round out our results with 11th place. There'd be nothing more that Steve Smith and John Griffiths could do in the final runs. They end the event rounding out the top 10 and with 2nd place in the class as well with that effort. A frustrating puncture in the afternoon would slow Harry Nicol and Emily Sibley a little, but thankfully they had enough of a gap either side to hold on to that 9th place with their 2nd in class finish. There wouldn't, though, be any further climb back up the results after those issues for Aston and Martin Cox. 8th place was the best that they could salvage from it this weekend. And it will be the class win once again for Ocean Riley and Phillip Richards. Another good finish after a great season this year for the pair. 7th place overall this weekend. The return for Martin James and Charlie Morgan had gone better than they'd expected, it was probably fair to say. They were just hoping for some seat time and a finish, and they managed to come away with 6th place overall here at the final round. And another success story would be that test of the new car for Dave Hooper and Lee Higginson, if you can call it a test when you're on the pace like this. Taking the Class 17 victory as well as 5th place on our overall leaderboard. Dave's UK competition now taking a break until next season as he heads to America to drive chase truck on the Baja 1000. With just themselves to worry about in Class 5, it would be the victory there for Jason Rowlands and Matthew Hall. Of course, that family battle came to a premature end earlier in the day. It wasn't a win by default, though, having led from the start, of course, and ending the event with a stunning 4th place overall. We move on to the podium positions then, and we'd see a move back down to 3rd for Phil Bayliss and Lance Murfin. The battle's still raging at this late stage. They have to stop midway through the course on one of the runs to fit an alternator belt, losing a handful of time in the process, as it would turn out pretty valuable time at that. That result does give them a 3rd place finish in the title overall for 2019 though. And those late night repairs were all made worthwhile for the team as Mark Jacks and Adam Nicholson crossed the finish line to end the event with a hard-fought 2nd place. It wasn't victory, of course, but it would certainly feel like one after those challenges. A great team effort by all involved and a fantastic end to the championship for them. But that means it's victory this weekend and indeed in the championship fight overall for Justin Birchall and Johnny Kunja, a title that Justin has been chasing for 10 years and adding to Johnny's title won with Dan Lofthouse back in 2013. So before we chat to our winners here at Walters Arena, here's a reminder of those final results here at the final round.
It's been, 10, 15 years in the making, trying to chase it, and it all came together this weekend, and the season hasn't exactly gone to plan, but it's made good entertainment, hasn't it? Down to the last wire, so just waiting for Jaxie to come in now. Hopefully he's clinched second. Oh, he's setting off now, I can hear him. Happy.
And was the pressure on today?
It was a bit, but so I was just really calm, just took it as it came, and didn't allow anyone to start prodding me and start winding me up. I just kept myself to myself, and thought just bring it home, just focus, and don't do anything too brash. We did the work yesterday, so we pulled the lead out yesterday, so been able to sit today comfortably. And he's doing it again. Right, What were we saying there? Oh, really interrupted.
Yeah, second today and hopefully second overall in the championship, but what a season, what a weekend. The guys who came down and they've all volunteered to help. I'm getting all emotional already. We had a good start to the day yesterday. Fourth run, we lost fourth gear, so we nursed it round for. We nursed it round for the fourth and the fifth and the sixth run, and then on the seventh run we got it jammed in third. So we slipped down the leaderboard and looked like the gearbox was past it. But to be fair to the lads, Dan and Alec and Hugo and Adam and Barry and Rich, Jack, they worked tirelessly through the night. Adam and Dan went up to Preston to get some parts for the gearbox. Alec and Hugo took the gearbox a bit with Barry, and they repaired what they could, and we managed to find some old parts, and I think the lads got it back together in the car at 4 o'clock this morning, and I gave it a quick run down the road this morning and it's all worked okay, so I've just had to nurse it today and not be too harsh with it, and we've managed to get the finish, and thank God we managed to get the second place overall and second in the championship, I hope. So yeah, brilliant. I can't say enough thanks to everybody who's helped. Big thanks to the wife as well for putting up with me all year. So hello Marie. So yeah, thanks to everyone, and thanks to the BXCC, John and the team. They've done a brilliant job. It's been a fantastic season.
I like all the thirds I've got, very unexpected. It's fought us this weekend, I must admit. Even the last one we got a puncher and I thought it was all over. So yeah, to hold on to third is really, really good. Interesting weekend with the weather, horrible, and then nice and sunny today. But no, all good, all good. Obviously I've got to say my thank yous now, it being the end of the year. So thank you to this lot, who my service crew, who work on it at home and here. Thanks to Kate and the kids for coming and moral support at home when I'm miserable and sick of it. Lance, who sits with me, obviously does a top job when we're out there, spannering it and when we break it and stuff. So yeah, spot on. Thanks to my dad, best mention him because he'll moan at me if I don't. He spanners it in the week at home and he's not here enjoying the racing with us, so yeah, he'll be happy. And yeah, thank you to all the organisers and you lot. It's been an absolutely ace year. So spot on. Thank you very much.
It sounds like from when you've just got out of the car that it might have been a tricky day today.
It's been all right. No, I lost my voice yesterday, but we survived.
So that's it for 2019 in the Britpart British Cross Country Championship. And if you've enjoyed the action as much as we have, you won't be able to wait for next year's title chase. The championship, of course, wouldn't be possible without its sponsors, and ourselves and everyone else involved with the series would like to thank Britpart Foxcloud, Staffordshire Signs, Parr Homes, Old Forge Garage Land Rover Specialists, Birchall Food Service, Nicky Grist Motorsports and Bowler, and of course, all of the team running the events and our dedicated volunteers out there marshalling and keeping them running. We look forward to seeing everyone back out there in 2020. For now, thank you for watching. Enjoy the Christmas break.